a lot to share about Colorado head coach Deion Sanders. I am all in. I love the guy. I really needed to see his team play one game before I could commit to this feeling. I've been feeling like, hey, it's a great hire. It's going to be cool and exciting. And I know Deion in press conferences has talked a lot about, you didn't believe in us. You didn't believe in us. I think it's fair to say I needed one game. I needed to see the product on the field before I jumped all in and believed in Deion and what he's going to do. But my goodness, I already kind of regret being hesitant, if I'm totally honest, because I went back and watched a press conference from 3 weeks ago, and I was like, he's been saying it all along, and he's been right every time he said anything. And I feel okay, though, saying I didn't know until I saw it. But I've seen him play one game with Colorado, or I guess coach one game with Colorado. And I'm going to get hate for this. I have no doubt. I don't really care. I am convinced, in my opinion, Deion Sanders is the next Nick Saban of college football. He's going to build a dynasty and win a ton in college football. I'm not sure that's going to happen at Colorado. I think Colorado, look, the mountains are beautiful. Boulder's amazing. I could see himself making a home and staying in Boulder for a long time, but maybe a program like Florida State or Nick Saban retires and Alabama wants to draw him in. Maybe a bigger program with more money in the SEC might eventually draw Deion Sanders and say, hey, we'll give you a bigger platform, better facilities, that kind of stuff. I could see him making one more move in college football to a slightly bigger, better program. But regardless, whether it's in Colorado or somewhere else, at some point, Deion Sanders is going to build a college football dynasty. I really believe that. And I know we're one game in, but I just think that what's going to happen with Deion Sanders, he is going to absolutely dominate recruiting. People have no idea. If you listen to Deion and listen to the people his messages are going to, he talks directly to young men in high school, and his message regularly is aimed right at them to bring them into his program. I want to start today by this Deion Sanders topic. I want to start by breaking down his post-game press conference after beating TCU. And then after that, I've got even more to share from a press conference 3 weeks ago where he called shot after shot after shot. And you're like, he was right, he was right, he was right, he was right. And then he gave this philosophical answer that Deion Sanders isn't just a head coach. He's like a philosopher. And I've bought into the philosophy of Deion Sanders. I love the guy. But the first clip I want to show you today is from his post-game press conference after beating TCU, talking about his opponent, TCU.
Hats off to the opposing team. They're coached greatly. I believe their head coach, I love him to life, what he did, turning the program around at SMU as well as here last year. Good man. I had a moment with him in the middle of the field when one of the guys were injured, just to let him know how much I appreciate him, how much I respect him for what he's accomplished, and I really look up to him. He's a good man, and his team was well coached today.
So Deion sometimes gets criticized for talking a ton of trash, and I would counter that by saying I think he's often misunderstood. He doesn't talk trash and tear people down. He's self-promotional. He believes in himself. I really can't find any examples of him tearing other coaches or other teams or other humans down. He just talks about how great he is, and usually he's right. And that's a critical distinction. Again, the difference between saying, I'm awesome versus you suck. And regularly, Deion really, really respects the game. You can tell it comes out in how he talks. It comes out in how he treats people. You saw if you watched the TCU game, middle of the game, he was hugging Sonny Dykes midfield, the TCU head coach. I just think often he's misunderstood, and he showed a ton of respect to Sonny Dykes and TCU's head coach after the game, talking about the program, talking about the head coach. I think that's really cool.
We got to be much more dominant next week in all phases, not just one phase, but offensively, defensively, special teams. Offensively, we did it. Defense, we got to fix some things. And special teams were horrendous. We got a kick block, as well as Durner gave up a touchdown. That was horrendous.
Colorado played well enough to win week 1, but that's just their starting point. I really believe they're going to be even better in the future. They're going to keep getting better, fixing things on defense, improve their special teams, hopefully improve their running game. I just can't imagine this is the final destination for Colorado. The best game they're going to have all year and the best they're going to play all year is this game week 1 against TCU. They're going to keep getting better. And I think it's very likely that this upcoming weekend when Colorado hosts Matt Rule in Nebraska, I think Matt Rule could get embarrassed. I mean, we saw Matt Rule, former Panthers head coach, now Nebraska head coach. He went out of his way to criticize Deion and the way he's doing things at Colorado this offseason. And, Deion never mentioned Matt Rule. He never did. But he just says, I don't care. Criticize me all you want. I'm going to win and do well. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. If I had to make a choice, I would say, hey, Colorado might win by like 50 points over Nebraska this coming weekend. It's going to be very interesting, but I just love all the people that criticize Deion. I mean, I feel like almost every coach did this offseason. He's won one game. It's not going to work. He's got all these transfers. It's not possible. He plays some of them. He plays Dan Lanning at Oregon. He plays Matt Rule this weekend against Nebraska. It's going to be very interesting to see how things play out. Now, in clip number 3, I want to show you here today, Deion is talking about coaching his sons, and I think it's just very cool. It shows not only the coach, but the dad that he is. Let's play the clip.
When I was in the training room getting my foot worked on, he and Shiloh just came, and of course Junior was filming it, so we had a dad moment. They were really happy, elated. Shiloh came in there being apologetic because he noted a couple tackles he missed. I'm on his butt right now. But he said he had 10 tackles, and I checked the stats, and I think he did. So I was just dad in there moments ago, and I'm proud of both of them, really. I really am. And Junior, because his work shows. His work is why some of you are here.
I love this man. I love that he's not just a college coach. He's also a dad coaching his own children. It's amazing. And it's super rare to see that. It's very cool. And often when you see like the coach's kid playing for his dad in college at the highest level, usually it's like, well, he's the kicker or he's the backup receiver. Like, no. He's the star quarterback and one of their very best players and a Heisman Trophy contender. It's so cool to see that. And I also want to point out, it's cool to see the way that he talks about Shiloh, he talks about Shadur, but he also goes out of his way to credit his other son, Deion Sanders Jr., his oldest son, who's 29, I think almost 30. He doesn't play football anymore, but what he does, what Deion Sanders does, he calls him Junior, is he runs their social media and makes their promotional content. Shout out to the YouTube channel, Well Off Media. That's a massive part of what they do. He says that's why a lot of you are here today. That's how Deion has spread his message from Jackson State to Colorado to now. Now he's getting national news coverage. Everyone's talking about him. But before, when it was smaller and there was less attention, Junior was critical at the ground room floor, getting attention on Deion and his ways of doing things and getting recruits to go play for Deion. I love that he gives a shout out to all of his kids, not just the 2 that played on the field, but goes out of his way to talk about Junior. And in this next clip, I love Deion talking about his best players and what he thinks they can do and what he thinks they might achieve this year.
I always promote all my kids. I really think we got a couple guys that should be front runners for the Heisman right now. That's how I feel. And I want to promote my kids at all costs. We got a couple of them who did what they did today.
He talks about Travis Hunter, Shadur Sanders, his son, the quarterback, Dylan Edwards. And he's totally right when he says, who else did what they did today? We saw Shadur Sanders play nearly perfect at quarterback. Travis Hunter playing both ways on offense and defense. Dylan Edwards had 4 touchdowns. To me, the guy that's most impressive is Travis Hunter playing 129 snaps and not only playing on offense and defense, but being elite truly on offense and defense, playing both ways. But Deion loves to help promote his guys, and that's going to go a long way when it comes to building a program. Now, this very next clip is something I absolutely love. Take a listen.
We're going to continuously be questioned because we do things that have never been done. That's the way our life has presented themselves. We do things that have never been done, and that makes people uncomfortable.
We do things that have never been done before, and it makes people uncomfortable. I love that. And it's true, man. Colorado brought in 86 new players going into this year. 57 of them through the transfer portal. And it made a lot of coaches around the college football world very upset. That's not the right way to do stuff. I'm angry. I hate it. We talk about Florida State might have nailed the college football transfer portal. I was watching the LSU-Florida State game. They're like, yeah, we think Florida State might have done the best job on the transfer portal. Then they're like, they have a moment of self-realization where they're like, well, actually, it was probably Deion at Colorado. He did something so much that he's not even mentioned with everyone else. He's in his own category, off on his own planet, doing his own crazy stuff. And everything Deion does is new and different. We have never seen a coach like him. The authenticity, the way he approaches stuff, I totally love it. And that's why I think Deion is going to change absolutely everything about college football. And I would like to see more coaches speak as openly and as candidly as he does. Now, the final clip from this post-game press conference after beating TCU, Deion talks about the importance of beating TCU and how much this win can matter. Take a listen.
These young men in there right now, they believe. Not all of them believed before, but right now, they came up one by one, twos by twos. Coach, we believe. Now they believe. Now Boulder believes. People in the front office, people in the building, the fans, the students. Now everybody want to believe. I'm good with that. We got room.
Beating TCU week 1 changed everything. Now it's no longer just him talking. I mean, even if Colorado goes on to lose to Oregon, USC, Utah, which, by the way, they might win at least one of those games. I would love to see. I can't wait to see what happens when Deion and his team goes up against the best teams in the Pac-12. It's going to be really fun. But this week 1 game was everything. We saw Clemson lose week 1, get embarrassed. That's a loss people are going to remember in recruiting. The most memorable thing we saw, the first impression of college football this year, was Deion knocking off TCU, the team that went to the national title last year. Not only was it a thing we're going to remember, like recruits that are playing high school football right now are going to go, man, Clemson, Florida State, LSU, or Colorado with Deion who's doing special stuff. The gears are turning right now. But on top of that, it's a spark of hope for the players that are already there at Colorado. Because Deion's been saying a lot of stuff. And he says it right there. Not everyone believed me, but now they do. Because everything Deion said happened. It was true. He was right. And you know what's interesting? He didn't make these crazy proclamations. He believed in his players. He said, my players are awesome. They're going to make plays. That's what he was right about. So he believed in them. They won. And now when Deion talks, it has a different power than ever before. When he talks, people listen. People like me pay attention and go, I think he's right. And his own players are going to go, oh yeah, coach, we're all in. If they weren't bought in before, that's cemented. And Deion's message was always that they were going to win this year, not a 3-year rebuilding plan. Hey, maybe 4 years from now we can be a good football program. No. Deion said this year we are going to win. And if any of his players didn't believe him before, they do now. That to me is worth everything. When you are trying to build a program and get your players to buy into what you're saying, to have your players all aboard and fully believe you now when you talk, it's everything. This might have been, in Colorado's rebuild with Deion Sanders, this week 1 win over TCU might have been the most important thing to happen all along the way because it just cemented everything he's ever said. And I want to share another clip here. This is from a interview or a press conference 3 weeks ago, way before the TCU game, and it's one of my all-time favorite quotes from Deion Sanders. I absolutely love it. It makes me almost want to cry because it's so caring and it's so true, and it really speaks to the way Deion wants to help young men. Take a listen.
What about me would make you think that I care about your opinion of me? Your opinion of me is not the opinion that I have of myself. I've been dealing with this foolishness since Pee Wee football, man. I've been him. I've been a difference maker, a game changer. I've been that guy. So what will change now that I'm coaching? I love it, but I don't care. And I wish the world thought like that. Youngsters, if you're out there right now, do not give a darn what opinions people have of you, long as that opinion is not consistent of that of yourself. You be you. I'm not planning to make you feel good about me. I already feel good about me. I'm good.
Man, Deion to me is so much more than just a football coach. I want to read that quote back to you. Do not give a darn what opinion people have of you, long as that opinion is not consistent that of yourself. It almost makes me want to cry. It's such a good word of encouragement for young men. I mean, Deion, more than a coach, is almost like a philosopher. He's so wise, and man, I really think Deion's going to help uplift a lot of people. He really does just find exactly the right chord to say and way to share things, and I just think his encouragement, man, like so many young men need to hear that kind of thing. Stop worrying what people think. Stop worrying about all this nonsense. Focus on you. And if the criticism people are throwing at you, it's not really consistent with who you are, why do you care? That's how Deion's lived his life the entire way. And something that Deion's son, Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback of Colorado, said, it might sound cocky and arrogant, but it actually, I think, really speaks to what can happen when you're raised by Deion and around him your entire life. I'm going to play it. Take a listen.
Well, I'm a Sanders. I don't feel pressure. That's the thing. It's in my blood. Like, I don't get nervous. I don't get none of that. Especially when you prepare, you got the coaches and you got the staff and the players around you. Like, there's no real pressure. You just fighting yourself and your own thoughts. And that's the thing. I don't fear no names or no nothing like that.
So, again, this quote might make you uncomfortable. Is that cocky? Is that arrogant? He doesn't get bothered. But no, it's actually incredibly healthy. I want to play it again. Take a listen to this. Listen to what Shedeur Sanders says about pressure.
I don't get nervous. I don't get none of that. Especially when you prepare, you got the coaches and you got the staff and the players around you. Like, there's no real pressure. You just fighting yourself and your own thoughts. And that's the thing. I don't fear no names or no nothing like that.
That is such a healthy mindset. And to me, that's an example of the impact having Deion Sanders around you your entire life can have. And to me, I love Star Trek. That's like Spock levels of logic. That's totally right. And it's one thing to know that in your head. It's another thing to truly believe it in your heart. And I believe Shedeur Sanders when he says that. I believe he's not fazed. And if I was a player in high school football, I'd be like, hey, give me as much Deion Sanders as I can get. He's going to make me a better man, a better player, a better everything. I mean, truly, we have never seen a coach like Deion in our entire lives. And I want you to listen to this next quote from him.
I love life. I love the life I live, and I live the life I love. So I'm not adverse to the nonsenses of life. A lot of coaches sit up there and lie to you because they want you to believe something else about who they are. You know who I am. I've been consistent with who I've been for a long time. Now, I've been in the light, since I was, 18 years old? This ain't nothing new to me.
Like, man, he's totally authentic. He's the most authentic coach I have ever seen. And when a reporter asks him if chasing money can unify a football team, like, can chasing money really be a unifying force for a football team? Listen to how Deion responds to that.
We all want to be comfortable, right? You know, the only thing that separates me from many people or the fluent from people is having the option. I have the option to go to a car lot to get what I want to get. I have the option to go to a shopping plaza and get what I want. That's an option. Everybody wants options, right? That's what we're searching. And peace, right? You all want peace, and you all want options. Isn't that what you're searching? Well, somebody just say, oh, I just love my job. Oh, my God, I just love it. Man, please, you want the option. But I really enjoy what I do. I really do. This is not work to me.
I have options. I can go to a car lot and buy whatever I want. I can buy what I want. I can do what I want. And he says, isn't that what everyone wants? We all want to be comfortable. To me, I hear that, and I immediately think Deion's going to help a lot of young men make a ton of money playing football in the NFL. He's going to help them become better players, reach their potential, then go to the NFL and get a big contract and be set for life. And when Deion talks, he's speaking directly to young men playing high school football who are considering, hey, should I go play for Deion? And really, it's not just high school football players. It's players at other programs, too, who are talented and maybe aren't getting to showcase their talent like they want to at their current college. They can jump in the transfer portal, go play for Deion, and be put on a big stage to go show what you can do. I truly believe the primary motivation for Deion Sanders is he wants to help uplift young men so they can make a ton of money playing football. And to me, he's very open and honest about that. I think it's cool. Like, Deion doesn't have to coach. He doesn't have to be here. He's got money forever. He could just walk away and enjoy retirement. I don't think people realize, though, this is Deion's kind of way of giving back to his community, giving back to people that were once, that are where he once was. He was once a young man in college or heading to college, getting ready to prepare and try to become an NFL player. He was once exactly the people he's working with now, or the people he's trying to convince to come play for him. And, like, I don't think Deion's ever going to want to go to the NFL unless he gets some rare, unique, special opportunity. Maybe Shedeur Sanders, his son, is in the NFL playing quarterback, and that team has a head coaching opportunity, and he's like, hey, I'll take a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to go coach my son in the NFL. That's the only time I can imagine him going to the NFL, truly, honestly, because his skill set, what he's best at, is convincing people to want to come play for him, and that would kind of be wasted in the NFL, on top of the fact that it's a cutthroat business. And I truly believe that what he wants to do, what Deion's motivation here is, he wants to create opportunities so that young men can make a ton of money playing football. and have a better life and help kids that are where he once was. And so he's got this unique perspective. Take a listen to this next quote where Deion talks about what makes him unique compared to other coaches.
I've been the parent, getting the kid recruited. I've been the coach and the player. And so it's not a viewpoint that I hadn't seen. So I love that advantage point. I do. I really do. And I've been in the media for darn near 20 years. I know what you guys are ready to and what you guys want too.
I think it's interesting. Deion played before the guys he's coaching were even alive. But those kids' parents watched Deion when he played in the NFL. And Deion is going to absolutely destroy in recruiting and get a ton of top talent, partially because of his unique perspective, which is so rare. He can relate to a parent because he's been a parent of a high-level college football player. He is right now. He's a coach. He's a former NFL Hall of Famer. Any angle you can approach this, he can relate to. And he's not only speaking to the guys he's recruiting, he's also speaking to their parents who are going to go, hey, son, you got to go play for Deion. What are you doing? Why would you ever consider anything else? And then on top of that, here's something that matters that because of how I look at me, I'm a silly looking man. I feel uncomfortable saying this, but this is true. This really does matter. Culturally, Deion can connect with guys on a level that Nick Saban, Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, that a stuffy white guy simply can't. That's uncomfortable, but it's true. Deion Sanders can speak to people on a level and relate to them on a level that Nick Saban certainly can't. And because of all of those factors, because of his unique perspective, because of his Hall of Fame credentials, because he's a parent and a coach, because he played at the highest level, Nick Saban never played in the NFL. I mean, I really think it matters. Like, Deion is going to absolutely crush college football recruiting and convince a lot of players to want to go play for him. And when Deion was asked about why he lets the players, and not only why he lets them, but why he wanted to have the players' social media handles on the back of their jerseys during practice, this is what he said. I loved this answer. Take a listen.
Everybody wants to be noticed. Everybody wants to be followed. Everybody wants to be that person. So why not help them? Anybody in here don't want more followers? Why you get on social? You want more followers, right? So why don't I help them? That's my obligation to my team. I help them. So that's why. It's a new age thing, man. Everybody's on social. You might as well help them. I wish we could do it in a game.
He gets it. He totally gets it. I mean, he wants to help players reach their goals. More followers means more exposure, more money. He said it. He said, I have an obligation to help them. And more than any coach I've ever seen in my entire life, Deion Sanders understands what it's like to be a player trying to get to the next level. And man, let me remind you, here's a quote he gave 3 weeks ago. It makes me wish I'd paid more attention because I might have been bought in sooner. But listen to what Deion Sanders said 3 weeks before beating TCU week 1.
I'm not new to this, man. I'm true to this. I've been doing this for a minute. I know you think I haven't been at this level for a minute, but I've been in football for the last how many years? A long time. All right. I know what I'm doing.
So as Deion became the head coach at Colorado, one question for me was, how is he going to transition from coaching at Jackson State to Colorado? Like, is it going to take any time to adjust to a higher level? And now that I think about it with perspective, of course it was always going to be easy for him. I mean, it would be like if I went back to high school football now at 26 years old. It would be a joke. It'd be like, you're tiny, you're slow, I understand. It'd be easy. And when you think about it this way, Deion Sanders played in multiple Super Bowls. You think TCU would intimidate him? Like, he doesn't care. He's been there before. And also, he told us he would win. Here were his expectations when 3 weeks ago, he got asked about his expectations for the season. Take a listen. Expectations are
to win, develop, get these guys to the next level, and have them to be men, not boys. That's my expectation, and we're going to eclipse that.
And here's what he said about freshman running back Dylan Edwards, who had 4 touchdowns week 1.
I'm curious, is Dylan Edwards everything that he was advertised?
He's a dog. He wants all the smoke. He wants the ball. Dylan Edwards is a phenomenal, electrifying player. We plan on having him returning kicks as well as getting the ball to him as much as possible.
Deion knew this would happen. Here was him describing how they built their offensive and defensive systems. I love this answer from Coach Prime.
It's really the job of the coordinator to get to know the talent. It's not the talent to know the coordinator. We got to get to know these young men. They're helping us win, okay? So we got to get to know them and understand who they are and do the things that they're capable of doing, and also have command on what we're trying to accomplish as well.
As a coach, you have to build around your players and put them in a great position to be successful. He gets it. That's exactly what he does. And then he continues after this quote saying how good his son Shedeur Sanders would be at quarterback. Take a listen to this.
When you talk about Shedeur can play the darn game, man. Shedeur smart as a whip. We got to take advantage of that. He's been very successful before he got here. We got to glean from some of the things that he did to make it to this point and make sure he's comfortable with the offense. And the main thing, really, we just got to protect the kid. If we keep him upright, I can't wait till you see what he does, especially with the receivers. A plethora of receivers that we have that can straight out ball, and they can run like the wind.
Here's my message from all this. The reason why I showed all these quotes, like 12, 13 of them, something like that. Deion Sanders told us exactly what would happen 3 weeks ago. He was right about everything. He was right about his son throwing for a ton of yards. His son threw for 510 yards. He was right about having great receivers. They had 4 receivers over 100 yards receiving against TCU. Shedeur is basically a perfect decision maker. He was right. He was right. He was right. And now that I pay attention, it's like he was right about everything. So I'm going to listen and I'm going to believe and buy in. He was right. I believe him now. And if you've heard all of this, all these quotes, all the answers Deion's given from 3 weeks ago to after the game, if somehow now you still doubt Coach Prime, that's on you, because I think I've adequately showed all the examples I possibly could of Deion Sanders not only calling his shots and not being like crazy and delusional, but just right and knowing football really well, believing in his players and trusting that they will become what they can and trusting himself to be a great coach. That is why I am all in on Deion Sanders. And there's one more thing worth noting about him that I really like. You notice when he talks, he says dang or darn. In watching his interviews, he rarely cusses. I couldn't find one cuss word. And you know, part of why he does that is because, yes, he worked on national TV and probably has made himself able to talk without cussing because that's what you have to do when you work in TV. But also, by having lots of quotable things said from him that don't involve cuss words, he can be shown on TV more. He ends up on ESPN. He ends up on Fox. People can show him, and that allows recruits to hear his message. I mean, that's just one of the many little things Deion Sanders does really, really well. And to me, again, like I said, he called his shot over and over and over again. And if somehow, after week 1 of college football, after hearing everything I just played for you, if somehow you still don't believe in Deion Sanders, that's on you, because I just think that, I wanted to watch one game. I wanted to see what would happen. I've seen one game. I have now gone back and watched all this footage of Deion calling his shot over and over and over again, being right over and over and over again. And so now I'm fully sold. I'm all in on Deion Sanders. I think he's the next Nick Saban, whatever that means. Whatever the next great college football coach that's going to build a dynasty and win a national title or two, that's Deion Sanders. And I think people do not even fully understand the implications of beating TCU week 1, how much that's going to help him dominate recruiting in the future, and how many young men out there are going to hear what Deion Sanders has to say and the way he's trying to help them and go, yeah, Dad, Mom, I'm going to go play for Deion. I know Nick Saban's out there. I know Alabama's proof is in the pudding. They're great, but I think Deion can make me into a star. And look, guys, I was a very average college football player. Like I played at the lowest level. I was nothing. Right? I would have been so happy to be in the room. Like, do you understand, whether you play or not at Colorado, you're going to become a better man, a better person, and a better player. You may not play, but there's no way that practicing against the best players in the country aren't going to make you a better player too. And I really fully am totally bought in on Deion Sanders. He's an incredible coach who's going to do amazing things. And I encourage you, if you don't believe me, pay attention. Like, open your eyes, because I understood going into week 1. I myself was like, let's wait and see. I want to see one game. But now that I've seen one game and then I've gone back and listened to everything, Deion is just unbelievable. And he's the next big thing in college football. I got to tell you that's my belief. I'm all in on that belief. And I think I adequately showed you why.